The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo, Bosnia, on June 28, 1914, set off a rapidly escalating chain of events that led to the outbreak of World War I. Tensions had been brewing throughout Europe, especially in the troubled Balkan region, for years before the war actually broke out. A number of alliances involving European powers, the Ottoman Empire, Russia, and other parties had existed for years, but political instability in the Balkans threatened to destroy these agreements. The spark that ignited World War I was struck in Sarajevo, Bosnia, where Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, was shot to death along with his wife Sophie by the Serbian nationalist Gavrilo Princip. The assassination set off a rapidly escalating chain of events, leading to the outbreak of World War I. Austria-Hungary blamed the Serbian government for the attack and hoped to use the incident as justification for settling the question of Serbian nationalism once and for all. Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany secretly pledged his support to Austria-Hungary, giving them a blank check assurance of Germany's backing in the case of war. Convinced that Austria-Hungary was readying for war, the Serbian government ordered the Serbian army to mobilize and appealed to Russia for assistance. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and the tenuous peace between Europe's great powers quickly collapsed. Within a week, Russia, Belgium, France, Great Britain, and Serbia had lined up against Austria-Hungary and Germany, and World War I had begun. Germany began fighting World War I on two fronts, invading France through neutral Belgium in the west and confronting Russia in the east. The aggressive military strategy known as the Schlieffen Plan was named for its mastermind, German Field Marshal Alfred von Schlieffen. The Germans assaulted the heavily fortified city of Liege, using enormous siege cannons to capture the city. The defeat meant the end of German plans for a quick victory in France. In the First Battle of the Marne, French and British forces confronted the invading German army, which had penetrated deep into northeastern France. The Allied troops checked the German advance and mounted a successful counterattack, driving the Germans back to the north of the Aisne River. Both sides dug into trenches, and the Western Front was the setting for a hellish war of attrition that would last more than 3 years. The bloodshed on the battlefields of the Western Front inspired works of art and literature, capturing the anguish of trench warfare and exploring the themes of technology, violence, and landscapes decimated by war. Visual artists like Otto Dix of Germany and British painters Wyndham Lewis, Paul Nash, and David Bomberg used their first-hand experience as soldiers in World War I to create their art. On the Eastern Front, Russian forces invaded the German-held regions of East Prussia and Poland, but were stopped short by German and Austrian forces at the Battle of Tannenberg. Russia's assault forced Germany to move 2 corps from the Western Front to the Eastern, contributing to the German loss in the Battle of the Marne. Defeat on the battlefield, combined with economic instability and the scarcity of food and other essentials, led to mounting discontent among Russia's population, especially the poverty-stricken workers and peasants. This increased hostility was directed toward the imperial regime of Tsar Nicholas II and his unpopular German-born wife, Alexandra. Russia's simmering instability exploded in the Russian Revolution of 1917, spearheaded by Vladimir Lenin and the Bolsheviks, which ended Tsarist rule and brought a halt to Russian participation in World War I. At the outbreak of fighting in 1914, the United States remained on the sidelines of World War I, adopting the policy of neutrality favored by President Woodrow Wilson. However, Germany's unchecked submarine aggression against neutral ships, including those carrying passengers, made it increasingly difficult to maintain neutrality. Widespread protest over the sinking of the Lusitania helped turn the tide of American public opinion against Germany. With World War I having effectively settled into a stalemate in Europe, the Allies attempted to score a victory against the Ottoman Empire, which entered the conflict on the side of the Central Powers in late 1914. After a failed attack on the Dardanelles, Allied forces led by Britain launched a large-scale land invasion of the Gallipoli Peninsula in April 1915. The invasion also proved a dismal failure, and Allied forces staged a full retreat from the shores of the peninsula after suffering 250,000 casualties. The Treaty of Versailles, signed on June 28, 1919, saddled Germany with war guilt, heavy reparations, and denied entrance into the League of Nations. The treaty did not achieve the lofty goal of building a post-war world that would safeguard itself against future conflicts of such a devastating scale. The severe effects that chemical weapons had on soldiers and civilians during World War I galvanized public and military attitudes against their continued use. World War I took the lives of more than 9 million soldiers and close to 10 million civilians. The political disruption surrounding World War I also contributed to the fall of 4 venerable imperial dynasties: Germany, Austria-Hungary, Russia, and Turkey. The war brought about massive social upheaval as millions of women entered the workforce to replace men who went to war and those who never came back. World War I has also been referred to as the first modern war. Many of the technologies now associated with military conflict were introduced on a massive scale during World War I. The severe effects that chemical weapons had on soldiers and civilians during World War I galvanized public and military attitudes against their continued use.